Hello and welcome to the Sky Fantasy Football Podcast, live by Fantasy Football Hub, with Gameweek 29 firmly in the rearview mirror and Gameweek 30 slowly appearing on the horizon. My name is Andrew and I'm joined as usual by former Sky winner Dan Cox. Dan, how has your Sky weekend been?
Terrible, mate. Terrible. Yours?
About the same, I think. How many points? Who did you miss out on?
Everyone.
Right.
Yeah, terrible, mate.
Excellent.
That was terrible. I didn't have Fernandez, didn't have Jota, didn't do the Saar move. Been terrible, mate. And it started off pretty well on Friday because I didn't have Vardy, so I was pretty buzzing when he was out. So I was like, yes, that's a sort of bullet dodged. And then just terrible Saturday, and even worse Sunday. So yeah, not great, mate. Not great.
So basically, everyone who we tipped up last week, everyone we said we're going to make the moves and bring in, we didn't actually do. But
Yeah.
that sounds like it. Okay, we are also joined by multi-top place finisher Paul McAnulty. Paul, firstly, how did your lunchtime pints go down?
The pints went down better than the fantasy football did. So.
Okay. Any luck with the football at all, with the fantasy football?
No, it was distinctly average weekend for me. I think those that owned Fernandez, Jota, or those that didn't make a transfer this weekend were the winners.
Okay. So in terms of my wins, I probably won for the confessional, but I bottled making the transfers this weekend that I was planning on doing with the three picks that we brought to the table last week, which were Jota, Fernandez and Doherty. So the pain goes on this season. As we're live, please feel free to join in the chat. Don't be shy. Tell us how your weekend has gone. Hopefully your weekend has gone better than ours. Tell us how your season is going, and please feel free to ask us any questions. Anna Fantasy is in the chat. Are we guys considering any West Ham assets? If so, who? We will take a look at that later. Anna and Hornet FPL, evening gents. Good old Watford ruin our game weeks. For one, he doesn't mind a poor week. I imagine you don't. It's about time that Watford turn up, and I'm sure that we will be mentioning a certain Ismaila Sarr in the next few minutes, I would guess. So what we'll do on today's podcast, we will do a review of the weekend's action. We will look at some of the emerging picks for the next few game weeks, our transfer and captain plans for next game week. We will answer some Twitter and some live questions, and then finally we will do the confessional, where we can all share our Sky FF sins, and then Dan's weekly rant, though I do believe Paul has a weekly rant as well this week, so we'll touch on that. So firstly then, Dan, could you give us a quick rundown of what happened on Friday and Saturday?
Yeah, so Friday was a bit of a letdown. Vardy nowhere to be seen. Leicester have just been terrible, haven't they? Like since since the Man City Liverpool games where they lost, they just not hitting the passing tiers. And so Friday for me, I know Norwich won, but nothing. I did get nothing from that game. Saturday, Saar, who we talked about, and I was debating doing the Martinelli to Saar move, but I wanted, because Saar was sub in the last game, I wanted him to get a full starter game and get a full game in first. So I thought, well, it's Liverpool, so I'll leave it this week. And if he starts and gets through it, okay, I'll bring him in next week. Well, yeah, 23 points, 2 goals, and assist, man of the match, shot bonus. Disaster, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? 23 points and nightmare. Yeah, nightmare. So he was a star one on Saturday. Alonso also 29 points in his last 2 games, 3 goals. But I say he's just got back in the team. He didn't start any of the previous 8 games, but I think he's pretty safe to say he's going to keep his space in the team now. And another one, I don't know if, surprised me. Points in the last 6 games: 13, 12, 9, 2, 11, and 11. So 58 points in this last 6. Nick Pope, crazy. Wow. He's the top scoring keeper in the game now, and another clean sheet. It's just unbelievable. Another one who I did look at, but I thought was too much money. Bowen, 7.9 million. Yeah. He got 16 points, goal, man of the match, shot bonus, tackle bonus. Wow. Potentially an option. Say if that Spurs if you need some West Ham cover, well, you do, because like that the Spurs game that might be on, but the Newcastle game that got moved, yeah. He could be an option. Although I do think he's a bit pricey, to be honest. I'd rather he was cheaper, but if he carries on with that, he's going to be all right, really. And that was all I really took from Friday and Saturday, to be honest. Liverpool just like terrible, weren't they? Like, I don't know what's happened to them, but yeah, I don't know, mate. Weren't a good couple of days, Friday and Saturday.
What do we think of the Leicester assets? So obviously they're home to Villa next Monday, which is a nice fixture. You would guess, and also the next few game weeks they have single day captaincy as well. Who's the person you've got your eye on, Dan, in terms of who's going to carry your Leicester flag through the next month or so?
I was thinking about bringing Vardy back in on the Monday, but I'm not sure now how they've been. And well, he might not have to make a decision because he might not start, but apparently he's supposed to. But yeah. I don't know. I've got Pereira, Soyuncu. I really don't know, mate. I can't believe how much Leicester have gone off the boil, really, since how they started and hitting all the passing tiers and the goals Vardy was getting, and even Maddison not done anything in ages. So I'm really at a bit of a loss with Leicester and what to do, but you need a Leicester player. So honestly, I don't know. I don't really want to be wasting transfers taking out like the Soyuncu and that, but
yeah,
I don't know. I really don't know, mate.
So their next 8 games, and this is where they're such a tease. So they got Villa, Watford, Brighton, Everton, Palace, Arsenal, Bournemouth, and Sheffield United, and this is where they are. A bit of a tease. So for the next 8 game weeks, they've got the 3rd best fixtures in the league, behind Watford and Wolves, which we'll touch on shortly, I'm sure. But yeah, it's a real tough one. I brought in Harvey Barnes for Friday, so thankfully I had the exact money to take out Martinelli to bring in Barnes. Obviously, he didn't really do much, but he's only cheap. He looked quite bright. I think he'd be okay for these weeks, but yeah, spending that money on Vardy. How much is Vardy? 10.6, 10.7 I think it seems a lot of money for someone who is so drastically off form. Who's your Leicester cover, Paul, out of interest?
Funnily enough, I did exactly the same move as you.
Okay.
So I was looking around the 7 million mark for a midfielder. Yeah. I talked about Dwight McNeil and Armstrong before, but holding on to Vardy, I needed a Leicester asset for Friday night, so I made the Martinelli to Harvey Barnes move too.
Okay, all right. Just in the chat then, so Hornet FPL, I have Jota in one team, Fernandes in the second, so not so bad, just didn't captain Jota. Adzi Bear, first 2 days terrible like nearly everyone. I had Fernandes, Jota, and then Bergwijn, Jota, but didn't captain Jota. I want to get Sarr and De Bruyne. Yeah, they look like 2 really important players coming up. Any news when City Arsenal is moved? We don't know yet. There was going to be rumours it was going to be next midweek, but they haven't materialised as yet. It seems to be the only free weekend that Man City would have for the rest of the season if they progress in the Champions League and if they progress in the FA Cup. But I reckon that the Liga are holding out on City not making it, so as not to have to rearrange that game so quickly. So as of now, they would only have like 9 days to rearrange that game. So I don't think that's going to happen personally. Hornet says, still think Leicester will be back on it with Villa. We've been saying that for the last month or two. Lee Giles, good evening. And Adzi, I think we need a new overhaul. Let's phone Sky. Absolutely, a new overhaul would be nice for a lot of us. But not for Luke Wilson. So Fantasy Football Hub contributor Luke Wilson has jumped into the top 100 today. He's up to 53rd. So well done, Luke. Very well played indeed. So Paul, could you just do us a review of today's action, if that's all right?
Sure, yeah. And congratulations to Luke Wilson, who's someone I've spoke to offline a few times before. Yeah. Really good guy and a really top player. So today's games, it was Everton 1, Man United 1. I guess the most highly owned players were Richarlison, who only returned 2 points. Dominic Calvert-Lewin returned 10. Got the shots, tier 2 shots bonus. All the defenders returned 2 for Everton. And Manchester United was Bruno Fernandes, hotly owned prospect. He was on 14 points when he picked up the Man of the Match award. And I think Luke Shaw picked up tackle bonus, so he finished on 4. But Again, I don't think his ownership's particularly high. So
No.
Bruno Fernandes, I guess, and Calvert-Lewin were the two highest scorers there, and done well for those that won them. Spurs 2, Wolves 3. So Aurier returned 8, probably with unexpected points from a goal as opposed to tackles and clean sheets that he was picking up early on in the season.
Yeah.
Dele Alli returned 7, Bergwijn returned 8, and for Wolves, Jimenez returned 7, Jota returned 13 when he picked up man of the match, and Doherty, who I'll talk a little bit about later on, he picked up 12 points. He picked up shots, tier 1 shots and tackles as well as his goal. So,
okay.
Yeah.
A lot of those names seem to be in our overhaul special differential team. Just observationally, I might do a quick check ready for next week that how our proper overhaul team is faring against our differential team, because a lot of those names I'm sure you just mentioned they were in the differential team, so maybe we can have a look at that as well. Okay, so in terms of emerging picks then for the next few game weeks, so firstly to you, Dan, so after this week's action and kind of what we know about the games so far, who have you got your eye on over the next couple of weeks, and this time are you definitely going to bring them in, I suppose is the question.
Fernandes. Yeah, do you know, I really don't know what to do about Sarr now, because I know you think after that performance, but I don't like to then bring him in because I think you just missed out on 23 points. Like, you don't get those points if you bring him in now, but I know he is a player, and I had him in my team before the overhaul. So I don't know, I am tempted. I need to get rid of Martinelli. Fernandes, again, I thought about bringing in Fernandes for Richarlison, but I thought, no, I'll keep Richarlison, but I think I'm going to have to bring him in. I think it'd be quite a good captain option for the Sunday. So, Fernandes. And then Monday, I don't know, I do say about Leicester, but I think Leicester do have we'll probably go over it late, but Leicester do have a nice little 2-0 over Liverpool. So you're a bit fed up with Van Dijk or, any Liverpool players, you can whip them out for Vardy or someone like that, or Barnes. But Fernandes, and Jota, again, so annoying. If I'd have brought him in, he wouldn't have done nothing, but to then do what he did again today, and what they got Brighton at the weekend, and then West Ham, oh God, Bournemouth after that. So, Jota, Fernandes and Sarr. But, then that's 3 transfers used just to sort of be the same as other teams. Do you know what I mean? Everyone will be doing it, won't they? So I've lost them points and you use transfers, but I don't know, mate. It's quite hard to know what to do, really.
I think with Sarr, I personally think that Sarr is quite primed actually to bring in. So I know we've missed him points. I completely understand that, but he's less than 1% owned still in the top 1K. Appreciate that a lot of players will be bringing him in, but Watford also have the best next 8 games as well in the Premier League. So I think in terms of the stars aligning, in terms of a really good price, really good form, having the fixtures and low ownership, I think I know there'll be a few hundred people listening on this, and quite a lot of engaged players listening as well. But I think that Sarr move is a complete no-brainer, and I don't know, Dan. I think if you didn't do it, you'd regret it. In all honesty, with all those stars aligning. Just to touch on some of the ownership of the other players, we mentioned Jota last week when he was 0.5% owned in the top 1K. He's now 9.5% owned, so I don't think we've missed the boat there. If you wanted him still, and just to touch on Wolves' fixture, so Wolves actually got the second best set of fixtures in the league for the next 8 games. They've got Brighton, West Ham, Bournemouth, Villa, Arsenal, Sheffield United, Everton and Burnley. It's just an absolute sea of green fixtures. So those Watford and Wolves fixtures in particular are just absolutely mint going forward. Fernandes ownership, so he's 29% owned in the top 1K, so his has increased. If you're like me and you're not in the top 1K, he's only 3.56% owned overall. So he is quite highly owned. But I do think that Jota and Sarr are still worthy of bringing in. How about yourself, Paul? Have you got anyone else aside from those guys you got your eye on?
Just one more thing on the Sarr point.
Yeah.
I touched on it last week when the rearranged next round of the FA Cup games are on.
Yeah.
I was picking up Dwight McNeil for Burnley because they're definitely playing that game week, but their game is against Watford, so Sarr would cover that captaincy as well. So if you were bringing someone in, then I can see the benefit in that, especially from those moving on from Martinelli or from Traore, I guess would be the other option. I've not got anyone other than Grealish, which again fits the kind of 3-for-1 mould because they're away to Leicester next Monday, and then you obviously get the extra game that they've missed this week from the postponement for the League Cup final as well. So I guess that's the two players I've kind of got impending transfers on.
Okay. Just catch up with the chat. So Aaron Alton, what transfers are the ideal for the final run-in, lads? So I think we kind of answered this last week, but it was basically just have one or two left maybe for the last game week or two. I think if we look at the averages now, which Dan posted on his article last week. Dan, have you got the averages to hand at all, or from memory?
Yeah, I've got them here, mate. So top 5,000 is 8.1, top 1,000 7.6, top 100 is 6.8, and the top 10 is 6.8. And I think they were from Thursday morning. So you got all Friday, Saturday, and today's. So they'll have gone down again. So
yeah, you could probably knock at least half a point probably off those, I would guess as well. Can use that answers one.
I think so.
That answers one of the questions. Hornet says Sarr helps out my Martinelli problem. Absolutely, Hornet. If only we didn't, if only we had the faith on Saturday and Adzi Bear. Did anyone see what happened to Traore at the end of the game? I didn't, but I've heard he's maybe his shoulder again. He said I think he might need surgery. Plus, he was weightful in 55% of teams in top 1,000. He's incredibly highly owned. So yeah, I'm not really sure on Traore, in all honesty, but he looks to be a quick shift along to Sarr, I would guess. If that is the case.
Traore was never explosive anyway. He was someone that ticked along nicely, so I could see why those, especially looking to make gains, would perhaps want to move him on, regardless if he was injured or not.
Yeah. He had the most man of the matches at one point, didn't he? He wanted to 7 or 8 or something like that, wasn't it? But yeah. And the only other player which kind of caught my eye, there was a couple, but it was for the fixtures you kind of mentioned earlier, Dan. So on Friday the 20th of March, obviously all fixtures are subject to change with the FA Cup or whatever else, but there is a Spurs v West Ham single game day, which at the moment could be quite troublesome to cover. And there's also Friday the 10th of April, Newcastle versus West Ham, but I did note down that Jared Bowen made his first start yesterday for West Ham. As Dan mentioned, cleaned up the point, 7.9 million. So in terms, if you think of that price point of that's roughly the same sort of price point as maybe someone like Calvert-Lewin or Sheffield United defenders, or maybe we're talking about Sarr, Traore, maybe Mount, Martinelli, maybe all these kind of players who we've got. So he could definitely be a good, very, very under the radar option potentially for those games. Snodgrass as well, even though he didn't start surprisingly after being on form. But Jared Bowen is 7.9 million and 0.09% owned overall, and 0% owned in the top 1k. So if you are looking for a bit of a punt that will cover off 2 game days as they stand, obviously they are subject to change, then Bowen may be a really good play for that one. And the other one, the other player I've had my eye on, he's basically playing, he's not far off playing as a forward, but it's Doherty. He's quite expensive at 8.5. No, we mentioned him last week. He's quite low owned, so he's 3.37% overall owned, 2.4% owned in top 1k. Paul, was it you who wanted to touch on Doherty now, or was it for something later?
he is going to form part of a rant. I can talk now, or I can we can leave it to that section if you want.
Let's save it for the rant. So I'm just picking him out. He's not he's not far off playing as a forward. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, Wolves fixtures for the next 8 games or so are absolutely fantastic. The only obvious downside is their Europa League involvement, but he seems to have nailed that place down at the moment. So yeah, to me he looks like a really good option. So looking at our transfer and captain plans then for the next game week. So looking ahead now to game week 30. So on the left hand side of the screen we have got game week 30 in front of us. If we look at the games on Saturday the 7th of March, we've got Liverpool home to Bournemouth in the early kickoff. We then got Sheffield United and Norwich, Arsenal, West Ham, Crystal Palace and Watford, Southampton, Newcastle, Wolves versus Brighton, and then Burnley versus Spurs in the late game. Some really juicy home fixtures there for a lot of highly owned players. If we're thinking of the Liverpool boys, Sheffield United defenders, maybe Aubameyang, maybe Ings, Jimenez, Jota. There's the potential there for a lot of points. Dan, what are your plans for Saturday at the moment?
Well, I was thinking Salah, but I know they've got Champions League midweek, haven't they? So I don't know how much he'll play. Well, it's the first game, isn't it? So you can actually check.
You can see the lineup, yeah.
One, I don't like the first game of the day. I hate having a captain in that, because if they don't do anything, the whole day's a write-off, isn't it? Because you're then sweating through the 3 o'clock games, the late game. So I don't know. I have got Salah. But looking at the team, if we could have another overhaul now, I'd have a completely different side. So even now as we're speaking, I'm thinking I need to really change my team around and get Jota, Fernandes, Sarr in. So I'm a bit unsure at the minute. But I was on Salah. But yeah, like you say, Jota are at home to Brighton, are they? I've got Ings in my team. They're at home to Newcastle. Aubameyang. Do you know what I mean? They're all good shouts. I'm really confused with it, really, mate. I'll need to have a sort out during this week, and I'll put something on the hub for Friday. But I need to really have a look at my teammates. I had a disaster of a weekend, and I need to do something to change things up.
Okay. So you're not sure on the Saturday, but potentially Salah. On the Sunday, the 2 fixtures. So the early game is Chelsea versus Everton at 2 o'clock, and then Man United versus Man City. Have you got anyone in mind for that yet? Would Fernandes,
yeah. Just because he's, at least if I bring him in, he'll stop scoring and get a man of the match and everything. But it's got to be now. He's getting owned too much especially in the top 1,000. So I need to do it just to keep up with people.
And what about the Monday then? So Leicester versus Villa. What are your plans for that game?
I did have penciled in to bring in Vardy, so assuming he starts.
Who for? Or of interest?
Do you know, I could well end up making 4 transfers this week, so it'll be a part of a plan to get, I'll be getting rid of Richarlison and I've still got Ings. I don't know, because I was thinking of Ings Norwich the week after, but I could take out Ings. Do you know what I mean? See how he does on Saturday, and if he don't do anything against Newcastle, he could go. But I'm looking at taking 4 players out, I think, to have a real sort of shuffle round, because my overhaul team that I picked isn't good. So
it needs an overhaul.
Yeah, it does, mate. I was doing better before we had the overhaul, I think. So, but yeah, I need a bit of work this week on my team.
Okay. And what about yourself, Paul? Have you got your plans in place for next weekend?
Yeah, so I'm sitting on quadruple Liverpool defence just now. So I guess by captaining Van Dijk, that gives me essentially 5 Liverpool defenders, which I'm hoping is a differential in itself. If I still held Aubameyang, I think he'd be a nice differential captain into West Ham. For the Sunday game, I'm going to move in Fernandes or one of the Liverpool defenders, probably Robertson. And then I'm still holding Vardy, and I've got Harvey Barnes in case Vardy doesn't play for the Villa game as well.
Okay. I just noticed in the chat, I haven't checked myself, we've got Aaron Alton saying, sleepless nights thinking of my team being top of the leaderboard. Think the wife will be divorcing me. If that is right, Aaron, that is absolutely incredible. Well done. If you are actually top of the
yeah,
top
he is,
leaderboard. Wonderful stuff. Well done, Aaron. That is fantastic. Really, really well played. Well done.
She won't be leaving you if you win 50k, mate.
No, Hornet FPL said the promise of a new kitchen should sort that out. Yeah, incredible.
There's an opportunity on Sunday as well. I know Alonso's been on fine form recently. Yeah. He's started 8 games in the Premier League this season. From his 8 games, he's picked up points for 4 clean sheets, 4 goals, and 3 assists. Okay. If he was nailed on, I think it would be crazy not to have him. I guess that's the chance you're taking. Will he retain his spot for the rest of the season? Yeah. I know his defending has been questioned before, and that's probably the reason why he's not.
But he's been playing. He's been playing on the left of that midfield 3, hasn't he? Instead of in defence. So maybe he's got maybe he'll have that new role. Maybe it'd be like Gareth Bale-esque and just slowly move up the pitch. Potentially.
They did change. I think they took one of the centre defenders off yesterday and moved a flat back 4. But I'm not sure what the formation or the plans are moving forward. But he could be a nice differential pick.
Okay, and in terms of my team, I think I'll be doing the same as Dan. And I just think after this weekend, it just proved I'm playing the game a bit too slowly. I've had another red arrow because I didn't make the move, so I think it's about time to make the move. So I'll be looking also to bring in Fernandes, and so I'm not sure about Jota. I know that sounds a bit stupid, but with the Europa, with there's also players like they got that Neto there and Catroni and Traore and whatever else. I'm not convinced yet he's going to play every single game, whereas as Jimenez is already got Jimenez in. But I'll be doing a little bit of an overhaul as well. I'm also very tempted by Doherty, I've already mentioned as well. So that will be mine. In terms of captains, it's a really, really tough one this weekend. I need to try and do something a bit different, but I'll probably. I've got Mane at the moment, who is quite low owned. So if Mane starts, I'll probably captain Mane and hope that Liverpool react and do a bit of a job on Bournemouth, because I can imagine that Klopp is going to give them a big boot up the backside this week after that performance yesterday. So I'll probably captain Mane on the Saturday. I've got De Bruyne already in the team, who I had lined up for Sunday. If I bring in Fernandes, I'll probably play Fernandes. Probably captain Fernandes, I would guess. And I've got the really exciting Harvey Barnes in for my Monday night captaincy. So that they're my plans. But yeah, I think I'm doing the same as you, Dan. I think I'm going to have a bit of an overhaul this week and just get those players in that we want to get in. So just looking at some questions then. If you do have any questions on the live chat, please get them in now and we will ask them. Please feel free to ask Dan and Paul any questions at all. I'm just going to bring up the questions. Apologies guys, just going to bring in the questions that we had in on Twitter. Apologies guys for this, 1 second. Okay, so question off FPL Corf, fellow Welshman who I know is having a really good season. I believe is in the top 50, so well done FPL Corf. I'm sure I'll cover this, but what to do with Ings and Traore. I'm considering Traore to start if he doesn't start against Spurs today, and Ings is taking up a valuable striker spot, seems to be off the boil. So if you had, so Dan, you've got Ings, haven't you? And you said you were thinking of getting rid of Ings? Hello, can you hear me, Dan?
I might give him. Yeah, can you hear me, mate? Am I breaking him up?
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Yeah, I'll probably give him to the Newcastle game on Saturday, and I'll keep him for that. I'll give him one more chance, and then I'll probably move him out.
Yeah,
that depends really, but I think I'll keep him for this weekend.
And in terms of Traore, then, so I think we've already mentioned that Traore to Sarr seems to be a bit of a no-brainer as well. So hopefully that answers your question, FPL Corf. Richard Brook, I'm not sure if this is a confession or a question, but he's asked, have you ever forgotten to do a transfer on a game day? I forgot to bring in Salah in for West Ham on Monday night, despite seeing the clean sheets and having my phone in hand, ready to do it. So I'm not sure about that. Have you guys ever forgotten to do your transfers, even though you had your phone in your hand, ready to do it? Paul, have you ever done that?
Not in the Sky game. I have done it in other formats of fantasy football, but I guess with the Sky game, the extra buffer that you get, the sort of hour lag before the kick-off time that you can make the transfers to, is saved me a few times.
Yeah, I did something quite similar actually. So I've been playing the Telegraph game for about 20 odd years, and the other week, for the first time ever, I was making 4 subs, and I wanted to get them screenshotted and out on Twitter for everyone who follows me for TFF on Twitter, that I actually captured the transfers, posted it on Twitter, but then actually forgot to press confirm, which thankfully on the night only cost me a few points. But yeah, that was very embarrassing. And Richard also says he did remember to bring in Fernandes and Doherty today, so well done for that, Richard. Question from Sam, Sky Sports FF. With Liverpool having conceded 5 in the last 2 games, do you have any concerns over a double, triple Liverpool defence or goalkeeper? He personally has VVD and TAA, and was looking at potentially moving one to Fernandes if Liverpool don't tighten up at the back again. Paul, what are your thoughts on Liverpool defence at the moment?
I think with Van Dijk and Trent that they're still scoring points even though they're not conceding. So if, like me, you were sitting with 4 defenders, then I could see why you would want to move them on. But with just Trent and Van Dijk, I think that they will still continue to score. Van Dijk, he scored 3 points at the weekend, which was more than any other Liverpool player, and still continues to hit the passing bonus. And Trent, well, we've seen what he can do on an attacking front, and does pick up the occasional passing bonus too. So I wouldn't be too quick to move off those 2 Liverpool assets.
Yeah, okay. FPL Foxy, are you looking at any West Ham assets, and if so, who? So I've just mentioned Bowen. Dan, have you got have you got your eye on any West Ham assets at all, or do they just not come into your reckoning as yet?
No, I don't think so. Like, I don't think that game on the Friday will be on if Spurs beat Norwich. And the Newcastle West Ham, no offence, but that's got to be the worst single game day going, isn't it? Like, even I've had Newcastle fans sort of message me just saying, like, no, like skipping that day. But no, I don't think I'll be using a transfer. And I did think of the keeper, Dubravka. And I was thinking if I could do anything this week, but it just didn't quite work the money wise, and that was annoying because he kept a clean sheet. So that would have been another potential one that would have done all right. But I don't think so for West Ham. I can't see it. But yeah, Bowen, he had a good weekend, but I don't think so for myself.
Okay. Question off Marlon Kiramal. Apologies if my pronunciation isn't very good there, but with most of the April fixtures subject to change, how many transfers can we afford to do pre-changes to the schedule? So I think we should know on either Thursday or Friday, actually, because the FA Cup games will be done. We will see the draw and potentially the reschedule for 31. I think we should know, actually, in the next week or so about those changes. So potentially that could be our topic for next week, if it's all sorted out. And who is the current biggest differential pick? Apologies to put you on the spot, guys, but he's just said he is in the top 0.5% in the top 1,000 with Sa, and he is ranked 170 overall. And he wants time for another bet, Dan. I don't know if you've bet Marlon in the past, but in terms of a differential pick, is there anyone else, guys, who is catching your eye as potentially someone who could help everyone fly up the ranks over the next few weeks if they hit? Dan, can I put you on the spot first?
Probably Sa. I think it is probably Sa, because he was, like I say, he was in 5 teams, wasn't he, on Saturday at the top 1,000. So he is the proper differential. He won't be now. Like people, well, he still will be because people won't have that many transfers and stuff. But yeah, his ownership's going to rocket, isn't it, this week? And I think Sa. I think Sa's the one. And as for his bet, I don't know. I did give him a bit of a hide last year. I think I finished about 200 points above him in the end because he was above me at 1 point. So he was giving me a bit of shit, but I reeled him in at the end. But I don't know. He's doing pretty well this season. He's obviously been listening to the podcast and that, so he's doing all right. So I don't know. He's on 267th. He's 170th. Yeah, I'll have a bet with you, mate. Let me know what you want to have a bet about, and I'll still beat you. And let me know what you want to stake on it.
Not that we advocate any sort of gambling on this podcast, but thank you for that. Paul, have you got anyone else at all kind of in mind, ownership who we have or haven't mentioned already? Aguero. Okay, straight in.
Yeah. 8.7% owned in the top 1,000. Costing as much as he does, it's not an easy move for people to make back onto. And I just love owning him as a differential. Like, I know that he's frustrated a lot of managers this season, bringing him in, and especially the couple of games after the overhaul, he didn't do anything. But that, for me, signals a great time to get him in when he isn't on people's minds, and we know what he can do when he's on form.
And the way the fixtures fall, I believe after this Saturday, Man City have a 2-0 over Liverpool. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, you're getting a 2-0 or a 3-1. But with this is the only kind of week for a while where it makes sense to get onto a Man City asset, in my opinion, because they always play in the first game day in the following weeks. So this could be the opportune time to get on Aguero.
Sure, okay. Just looking at the fixtures for the next few games, the only one I would potentially add in is Troy Deeney as well. But he's going to be low owned. Watford have really good fixtures. He got some points yesterday. I believe he's on penalties as well, so he could be a good one as well. Just to answer Adzi Bear's question, when is the Telegraph pod out on here, guys? By the way, interested in it for next season. The vids will help a lot get a grasp of the games. We did one for last month. We're doing the next one next Sunday night, so it'll be straight after this Sky one. We don't do it live. We'll be recording it, and it will be out then probably on the Monday or the Tuesday. But we wanted to get the FA Cup games out of the way first, because obviously the FA Cup is included in the Telegraph game, so it will be out sometime next week, and I'll be doing that with Luke Wilson, who probably should be on this podcast, not the TFF one, because he's having a stinker in TFF. He's been brilliant in Sky, and it will be with Carl Weeks as well, so we'll be doing that next week. Couple of other questions. So we've mentioned about Leicester's form. Again, a concern. This question by Andrew Lee. Again, no Vardy or clean sheet. Do we keep the faith? Also, I'm assuming the Newcastle single game day is a skip at the moment. I think we've said yes. But yeah, Leicester's form a concern. I mean, absolutely. I certainly wouldn't be buying anyone. So myself and Paul have both got Harvey Barnes. Dan's thinking of Vardy, but he's also having second thoughts now potentially as well. Yeah, they're not really a buy at the moment, I don't think. Dav asks, are there any 2-0s or 3-1s coming up which we need to be on? So I've just mentioned that Man City have a 2-0 or 3-1 over Liverpool. Paul, have you got any other of those 2-0s or 3-1s that are coming up?
Yeah, just on top of Man City, I guess Villa are away to Leicester on the Monday night this week, and they'll offer a 3-1 or a 2-0. Mm-hmm. People are interested in Grealish again. It's getting at that price point where you can make the Martinelli or the Traore move.
Yeah. Dan, any thoughts on any upcoming 2-0s or 3-1s at all over the next week or two that we could potentially get a bit of a march on?
For me, mate, that Man City, I think, especially if they stick that Arsenal Man City game in, like they'll have to announce it tomorrow or something like that, I think. Yeah. But if that goes in there, 3-0 over Liverpool, you've got to be on that, I think. So that'd be Aguero. But I didn't really watch much of the League Cup final, but Aguero went off, didn't he, with like a bit of a kick, or he had a shot, and I see him holding his knee and stuff and sort of hobbling off. So I don't know how to see what's what with that, but a bit of a concern.
Okay, so in terms of just look at those Liverpool games which you just mentioned, so they play the early kick-off this coming Saturday on the 7th of March, and the next game isn't till the Monday night on the 16th of March, and in that time there are quite a few teams who play twice. There are Chelsea play Everton and Villa twice, Leicester play Aston Villa and Watford, Man City play Man United and Burnley, and potentially could even have that third game against Arsenal, though that is looking more and more unlikely now. Man United have got Man City and Spurs. So there are quite a few teams that have a couple of games during that time. So they're probably the ones to look out for the next week or two. If you are planning on jumping off any of Liverpool after. So currently I've got 5 at the moment. So this could potentially form some of the moves I was talking about to be able to fund Doherty, Fernandes, and things like this. But yeah, that Leicester back-to-back against Villa and Watford it looks quite tasty. But just looking on the questions there, and we've already mentioned Marcus Alonso. Lack of clean sheets with attacking returns have also been very impressive. He is 9.1. He's very expensive. I think it's hard for us to say whether we think he's a good option or not. It's different in FPL because you've got a bench, whereas in Sky, because you haven't got a bench, you're trusting on him starting, and this is where it gets really, really tough. So I personally think he's too risky because I just can't see him playing every game. Dan or Paul, have you got any kind of alternative thoughts? Are any of you planning on going for Alonso?
Not for me, mate. I've got other problems to sort out in my team, really. But yeah, I can sit he gets the goals, doesn't he? And just Chelsea can't keep clean sheets is the problem.
No, that is.
But yeah, no, he's done really well over the last couple of games.
Okay, and Paul, Alonso, or is it a bit too risky for you?
Yeah, if he was nailed on to start, I think that he would be a great move. We've known from previous seasons how good a point scorer he is in Sky and the FPL, but just the nail on this and the lack of transfers moving into the latter parts of the season, the captaincy requirements, I guess, has put me off.
Okay. Last couple of questions then. FPL Weasel. Is it too late to bring in Sarr? So I think the question there, due to his ownership and fixtures, is absolutely not. So he's under 1% owned. By the way, great podcast, lads. Love you three. It's my favourite podcast. I don't know why Sky don't have you doing this. Very kind words, FPL Weasel.
Right.
And Aaron Alton, who is top of the shop. How many transfers would be ideal for the running lads? So I think we've kind of mentioned this. We just, the average at the moment. If you're sitting in first, Aaron, the average in the top 10 is around 6 or 7. So if you can keep yourself above that average, listen to this podcast every week. Read Dan's article every week. In terms of his moves, in terms of the averages and stuff. So at the moment, probably 6 or 7, going down kind of week on week as the season goes down. But again, congratulations, Aaron. That is really good stuff. Hornet asks in the chat, any cats avoided security in Tesco, Dan? This was after all the drama of happened in Dan's local Tesco last week. Any cats avoided security, Dan, or have they all been taken care of?
Yeah, he's still in there, mate. He's in there every day. I went down the pub on Friday night, and the pub's right near the Tesco, so I come out after the pub, and cat was there, said hello to him, and that he was in there, bought some bread. No, I did, not the cat. Brilliant.
And so we move on then to the final part of the podcast. So in terms of the confessional, actually, I'm not sure we've got much prepared for this, guys. So my confessional this week is I was driving earlier as I was thinking of my moves, and I do find that when I'm driving and doing other things, my kind of mindset is different in transfers. I think if I was sat with my phone in my hand in front of the TV, I could maybe have done those moves, got Jota in, got Fernandes in, because I was driving, because I had other things on my mind. I was like, it'll be all right, don't worry about it. There's more important things in fantasy football when we all know there isn't. That's my confession, is giving out really good options and tips, and then just not following through myself. Dan, anything from you this week on the confessional? Please keep it clean.
Just pretty much I just debating Sarr and even Fernandes. I thought he was going to be good. I've still got Richarlison and Martinelli, and I haven't got Fernandes and Sarr. And confession is, what am I doing? Like, we talked about them. They made sense. Why didn't I do them? Just annoyed myself really that I'm just throwing points away. It's just, that's my confession.
And Richard's obviously mentioned he forgot to do his transfers on a game day, even though he had his phone in hand. That's not good. Anything from you, Paul, or should we move on to Dan's rant?
Yeah, well, I guess my confessional's half confessional, half rant. So I'm happy to hold on to the next section.
Okay, well, you can go first then, Paul. So we'll call this Paul's rant. Paul, feel free to rant away.
Sure. So mine's on Matt Doherty, who you've made a great argument for the last couple of weeks for bringing in your fantasy team. Now, I'm from Scotland. I don't support an English team, so I have no bias in terms of when I bring players in from a team that I support or not. Usually, that is. But Matt Doherty is a bit of an exception to the rule. So I'm from Edinburgh. I'm a Hibernian fan, and we got to the Scottish Cup final in 2012. And at that point in time, we hadn't won the Scottish Cup in 110 years. And we were drawn against our Derby rivals, Hearts. And Matt Doherty, who played for Hibs that season, was on loan. And, he wasn't setting the world alight, but he was absolutely shocking in that game. And we got pumped 5-1 off our biggest rivals in the cup final, which would have put to bed 110 years worth of misery in the Scottish Cup final. So my confessional is that I will never ever own Matt Doherty in any format of fantasy football for that reason. He was dreadful, like really, really, really bad, really bad. I'll never ever ever own him.
A really good confessional and rant there, Paul. The fair play. Thanks. Thank you very much for that. And finally, then on to Dan's rant. I always look forward to this one. Dan's real life rants. What's going on in your life, Dan?
Can you hear me? Am I breaking up a bit? Or am I all right?
I know we can hear you.
Very good.
Yeah, all good.
So, I do like everyone. Yeah, anyone. When I go down the pub, I like everyone. Yeah. What annoys me, right, and it's I'm not having a go at young people just because I'm getting old, right? But young people are starting to annoy me. I'm just trying to educate them a bit, right? So I get down the pub, yeah. I've been down there for 45 minutes or something. Watch Norwich Leicester. I've got a nice seat. I've got there early, yeah. I've had a shower. Might have had a shave. Do you know what I mean? I put on a nice polo shirt. Or, I try to be a bit smart, right? So I've been there a long time and I'm ready. Got my beer with my mate. Lovely job. I'm normal height. I'm 5'7", right? All these 18-year-olds, they're all 6 foot, right? They'll all pile in about 3 minutes before kickoff, stand in front of you. They've they just come from work dressed, just or something. Like scruffs, no consideration. No one sort. Oh, mate, am I in your way? Getting sick of these millennials, mate. Getting really sick of it. Just have a bit of consideration for your elders. Dress a bit smarter. You're down the pub. You're not, doing your gardening in your tracksuit. Just, I'm getting annoyed with them, and I'll tell them. I'll start having a bit of a just sort of saying a few things to them. They get a bit leery with you, but. Just, I don't know, mate, just do me head. And they're all called Curtis and things like that, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? It's, start getting a bit lippy with you. If your mum's washing your pants, mate, don't start coming here. It's just, I'm getting annoyed with millennials. Just no respect for elders, mate. It's younger generation. That's my bit of a rant.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan, did you have the parka on when you were in the pub?
No, it's too hot for the parka, mate. I'd like have a polo shirt on or something.
Or you could have fit in with them, though.
I've actually had a bit of a nightmare with my coat. I couldn't get it off the other day, and I was getting really hot, sweating, and that was the shop, and the zip had stuck, so I ripped it. I actually ripped the zip off now, so I can't do my coat up. So I'm in big trouble with that coat.
Dan is closing in on 40, I believe, Dan, with all these rants about ripped coats and millennials. The same as we, Dan. I have the same. I have the same experiences as you, so yeah, I think we're both fast. We're both fast.
I need some help as well. It's the missus's birthday this week. I've been with her 17 years. I ain't got her anything yet. I can't think of anything to get her. Everything you can think of, I bought her. We've been together for like that long. So if anyone's got any ideas, not too kinky and stuff, but just let me know some ideas because I'm running out of I can't think of anything. I've only got a couple of days to go, so give me some help because I'm in trouble.
please, everyone help Dan, and we will also put a poll on the Sky Podcast Twitter channel as well for you, Dan, so you know what to get your lovely lady wife there. Okay, I think it's time we wrapped up after all those rants. Dan, where can we find you?
Twitter, Dan Cox 82, and on Fantasy Football Hub. Article on there each Friday.
Okay, and yourself, Paul?
At Paul McAnulty 1 on Twitter.
Okay, and my Twitter handle is at Fergie222. So this podcast and video will be on the new Fantasy Football Hub, Sky and TFF YouTube channel, and also available in all major podcast libraries. If you like what you hear and watch, please like, share, subscribe, retweet. It all helps get the word out. Make sure you don't miss anything. All comments and feedback very, very welcome. Our Twitter handle is at FFH_HQ, and our Sky Twitter handle is at FFH_Sky. So please follow and feel free to ask any questions at any time. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football, all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, team reveals, and much, much more, which can be used for both Sky and FPL. Also on the website, specifically for Sky, Dan reveals his transfers, captains, and general thoughts at 1 p.m. every Friday, exclusively to Fantasy Football Hub members. I also write my weekly multi-format diary article, which includes my Sky team transfers, captains, and progress. Dan is also very active in our Sky WhatsApp chat group, along with other great Sky players, including Mark Edworthy, and this is available to premium Hub members. Some of the guys in the group are smashing it this season, with a few and more actually moving into the top 50 overall. One of the guys, Kevin Watkins, is currently 14th, and obviously congratulations to Aaron in the chat, who's currently top of the Sky leaderboard and on course for £50,000. If you fancy a 7-day Hub membership trial, just go onto the website and sign up for free. I'm sure everyone knows, but the Planet FPL guys also do a brilliant Sky podcast every Wednesday. Make sure you tune into them. And finally, don't forget, our FPL podcast will be live tomorrow evening. That's Monday evening at 8 p.m. with Will Thomas hosting this week, alongside Adam Hopcroft, last year's FPL third place finisher Andy Green, and none other than Twitter thread master Neil Murray. So promises to be a really good FPL podcast on Monday evening. FPL Saturday Live will also be back next Saturday at 10 to 3. We will talk you through the 3 p.m. Premier League action as it happens from an FPL perspective. So please come and join in with all the live action. Our FPL channel link is in the description below in this YouTube video. Apologies if the signal was dropping in and out, guys. I'm not sure if it was. It was for me a little bit. I think it was for Dan. Not sure if it was watching and listening to it live. But really appreciate everyone joining in the chat and everything else. So thank you very much for that, guys. In the meantime, then, we hope you have a great Sky Game Week 30, and we bid you thank you and good night. Good night, all. Thank you.